Okay, so welcome to being a English Literature and Creative Writing student webinar. I'm Genevieve, I'm a student recruitment assistant at Chichester University, and with us today we've got two students, one in second year. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
I'm Alice. I'm an English literature student in second year. Yeah.
And then we've got a third year student.
I'm Talia and I do creative writing in English in third year.
Nice, thank you. So I'm going to go through the first set of questions, which are all surrounding research in university before you start in September. So I'll go to Alice first. What steps did you take before joining university?
So I was just joining as we were coming out of COVID. So for me, like some of the open days were a bit awkward to get to and it was all a little bit complicated. But I came to one of the tours, an hour tour. So I got to see the uni before I joined. And then sort of walked through the town and saw the accommodation. So I had a feel for the town and also for the campus, even though it was sort of restricted as to what I could do and see. But those tours were really helpful because you got to speak to a student and even just walking through the town, you get such a feel of the place. That was really helpful for me.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good answer. How did you feel about going to university, Natalia?
So I'm a very anxious person, so I was quite worried about it. But I think something that helped me a lot was definitely coming to the open day and sort of getting to like feel the layout before I actually got there. And another thing that helped as well was the fact that my course specifically was quite small. It was small enough that it didn't make me panic too much, but it was large enough that there were people to talk to and it wasn't like the same every time, more or less. But other than that, yeah, I think it was just quite an anxious first experience, but it was absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's quite scary, isn't it? Yeah, we have lots of students that do suffer with nerves at first, but I think those first few weeks, it kind of blows over by kind of October time, I would say. I don't know if you two agree, feel settled by the end of October. Yeah. So this is kind of for both of you. What's your top tips when deciding on universities? We go to Alice first.
Definitely make sure if you can that you see where it is you're going to be studying first, just to get a feel for it, because you do definitely pick up on an atmosphere and you can decide whether it's right for you or not. So yeah, definitely try and get to an open day if you can, and just make sure you're happy there. There's no point going somewhere if you immediately realise you're not happy.
Yeah, very true. Talia, how do you feel?
I more or less agree. I think open days are very important to go to. Another thing is trying to find group chats with other students that are looking to apply to that uni, because that'll sort of ease and help settle your mind a bit. And also to just be 100% sure that on the course you're applying for, you can always change your mind later, but just that will help make the decision easier, I think.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with all of that. So our top tips as staff at the university, I would say it's definitely open days, taster sessions and campus tours. So you need to make sure that before coming to university, research the courses that you're interested in and find out where those courses are based, what are the best universities for them in the country, what's closest to you, are you willing to go miles away from home, or are you looking just to go an hour and a half down the road and live there and have that choice to travel back home at the weekends, or are you wanting to commute every day? So take all of those things into account, make your list of universities that you want to visit, and then definitely go along to their open days. You'll get to meet ambassadors, so students that are already there, and you'll also get to meet the staff, and that gives you a very good idea of whether you, like you guys have mentioned, whether you vibe or click with the atmosphere of the university, with the type of community that it is, because you've got very big universities that have 25,000 to 50,000 students, some places like Manchester like that, and then you've got other universities like Chichester where it's 6,000 students max. So it's a very good idea to kind of see what sort of campuses, whether it's big, small, suit you. And the taster sessions are really good as well, because then you get that kind of feel for the courses that you're interested in, because you might be between two courses. And then when you get that taster session, you realise, oh, you know what, actually creative writing is for me, or actually no, it's English literature. And they are taught differently at different universities as well. Lecturers are not really like teachers. They're kind of their own independent people who, you know, they'll teach in their own set way. And so that will give you a really good idea of the modules and how those are going to be kind of taught to you as well, which is a really good thing to see. I would also test run your journey from university to home. So if it's a case of you're going to commute every day, definitely check if that's a viable thing to do. I know we've got students that have come to our campus tours and they've said they might go, you know, from Salisbury to here, and that's quite a long journey. So test whether you actually are able to manage it. Maybe test your journey back home to see your parents if you are going to live here. So how are you going to do that? You're going to do it by train, do you drive, all of those things. And definitely visit the local area. University isn't just about studying and friends at university, it's also about the wider community. So whether you can get a part-time job, definitely want to consider those sorts of elements and see the local town to see what's on offer in that sense. You want to see what's on offer in the sense of extracurricular activity. So is there a nightlife? Do you want that nightlife, or do you want somewhere chill? And all of those kind of things, is there shopping, etc. And definitely ask questions is the big one. You want to make sure that when you go to these open days, or even if you're just wanting to send an inquiry over email or website, you know, ring up the outreach team, that you're always asking those questions, any fears, any doubts. No question is stupid. The university wants, all universities want to help prospective students and make sure they make the right choices. So yeah, definitely get in touch whenever you need to. And when you come along to university, ask students questions, ask lecturers questions, ask support staff questions. Yeah. Okay, so move on to the next part of the webinar. So getting started. So Alice, if I go to you, what was your first week at university like?
So for me, I was the first one to move into my flat. So I spent that first night on my own, which probably wasn't the best idea. But it was really nice that there was people around us still, even if they weren't in our flat, they were next door, or, you know, I definitely, the best thing I can recommend is just talk to people. Like, even if it's completely terrifying, just to go next door and knock on someone's door, it is the best thing to do. But that first week is chaos. There's so many things to do and think about, and it's the first time a lot of people have ever lived away from home. You've got to think about the food shop and everything. It's chaos, but once that first week's over and you start settling in, it is amazing. And it's just getting that first week out of the way and meeting as many people as you possibly can.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, especially if you're living in accommodation. I like what you said about knocking on other people's flats for sure. Yeah, you won't make friends unless you kind of put yourself out there at uni, so it's very good advice. Talia, how did you find settling into student life?
I found that it was an easier transition than I thought it was going to be. I think, especially once you've got Freshers Week out the way and you've met all these new people, that's the daunting thing, I think, is the fact that you think, oh, I'm going to have to meet so many people. How do I like manage to do it and stuff? But once you've got Freshers Week out the way, I think it all just sort of falls into place. I know in my experience, most of the people I'm friends with now, I met during Freshers Week. So I think it's about, again, like just putting yourself out there. And even if you're not like brave enough to say to knock on people's doors, even if you just leave your own door open, like that's how you can meet new people. And I think once you've met all those new people, settling in is a lot easier, and it's like makes the transition a lot easier as well.
Definitely. What does a typical week look like now, Alice, for you?
So for me, I'm only in 3 days a week, so I'm quite lucky I get Monday and Friday off, which is really nice for me being on English literature. There's so much reading to do that I do get 2 full days and like half a day, 3 days a week, just to catch up on everything and sit here and get work done. And it also gives me enough time that if I want to join any societies or anything like that, I've got enough time to do that. So it's really nice, and it does give you a lot of balance, but it can be quite difficult to start to sort of work out that balance and how to sort out homework and uni work together. But it does make it easier. You get there.
Oh, good. Good. I'm assuming it's the same for you, Natalia, that you're in third year now, you're just looking at dissertation and kind of working through all those bits.
Yeah, more or less it's the same. I think I'm in 2 days a week now because I only do 2 modules, but other than that, it's dissertation stuff. But again, I've still got quite a lot of free time. So it's not as packed as maybe the first year is, but there's still time for yourself, I guess.
Lovely, great, thank you. So what were your biggest concerns before coming to university? This is quite an interesting one. Yeah, Alice, thank you.
For me, yeah, it was just sort of making friends and settling in. I was so worried because I'm 4 hours away from home. So being that far away, it's quite terrifying. But like Tali said, it was easier settling in than I was thinking about. And again, looking after your own money, that is something that you're given quite a large sum of student loan normally. And some people haven't had that amount of money before, and that can be quite terrifying, sort of making sure that you've got enough money to pay your rent and food, and especially if you're living away from home. But yeah, there's a lot of people to help support you with that.
Okay. And what about you, Natalia?
I think definitely meeting new people, and also the money as well. But I think when you realise that you're all in the same position, you can all talk to each other about it, and it eases a lot of your mind that you know that you're not alone, especially with money. Because I don't know, students, they don't really spend their money well anyway. So you're all in the same position. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, definitely. It's very scary, kind of the independence that you're given before, well, when you come to university and before you go, it is daunting. So yeah, I think the fears are always kind of similar. So I like what you both said about you won't be alone at all, and there'll be other people in the same boat for sure. And next we're looking at, so kind of talking about that moving away from home and making friends. Natalia, how did you feel about the kind of the move? Did you move into student accommodation? How did it all sort of feel to you that first few weeks?
Yeah, so I lived in Stockbridge, which is off campus. And before we'd even moved in, we'd found like all of our flatmates through the Facebook applicant group. So we'd all spoken to each other before we moved in, which has absolutely made it so much easier to be able to like find other people you're living with. And I think living, especially in uni accommodation with other people who are in the same position as you, even if you were to like leave your door open, people would come in, chat to you. And I think even now, I'm still in contact with all the people I live with in first year. I live with some of them now. And I think especially living in the campus accommodation, it is so much easier to sort of settle yourself in. And there's less stress on you, I think, to sort of, I guess, go out and do new things if that's not your thing, because you can sort of meet everyone where you are. You don't have to sort of go out to meet new people as well.
Yeah, brilliant. It's definitely easier, I would say, at Chichester University to make friends. It's quite a nice, small community, lots of societies and clubs. You've got the SU on site, and you can go over there and have a drink. And I know that they do wishy nights on a Wednesday night. So there are those options as well. If you're not socialising within your flat, you can socialise in lectures at lunchtimes and also at the SU on Wednesdays and at the weekends. Are either of you part of any societies or clubs? No.
I was in rugby first year, and
Okay.
I'm a social member rather than a player member. And that in first year gave you so many different friendship groups, because obviously everyone you're playing with has got a different course or different group of friends. So it does give you a much broader range of friends, and it makes it really easier just to meet new people.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good shout. Because if your lectures as well are small, you never know. You might not click necessarily with the people in your lectures, but you might click with those that you meet at something like a rugby society. So that's amazing. I'll just send the slide here. So coping with exams and essays. Alice, what types of assessments do you have in your subject? How do you prepare for these?
So all of mine are sort of essays, slightly longer than what you do in sort of A-level English. They're just a longer version of them. And for me, I found it really hard to plan my essays because it was so different to GCSEs or A levels, and I needed that little extra support. So I did use the Royal Literary Fund, which is available for students, and they were really helpful for me with planning that. And they're available to any students completely free of charge, and that was really helpful. And also it's helpful just planning your deadlines in advance and making sure you have because sometimes you can have up to 3 or 4 essays due in a space of a month. So making sure you're planning those essays and when you're going to get the deadlines done in time in advance is really helpful.
Okay, that's really good advice. How often do you have assessments now you're in third year, Natalia? How different is it from first and second through to third?
Definitely have them a lot less. I think there's more variety though as you go through. I know first year is mostly just essays and creative pieces that you have to hand in. And then second and third year, you get a lot more variety. So you can get like presentations. I'm doing a course at the moment where you can sort of pick the outcome of it. So you could do an art piece and present on that. And it's completely up to you. It is usually about 1 essay per module. So in first year, you normally have 4 per semester. Currently, I have, again, 2 or 3 per semester, depending on how many modules I'm doing at the moment. So it can really vary, but you shouldn't get more than 4.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. So we'll now talk about the support on offer at the university. So there's lots of different types of support for different elements of student life. So we can support you regarding academic skills and essay writing. We've got a chaplaincy for anyone that might be religious or they need a bit of pastoral support. Our chaplaincy is actually, so the building that takes place in is actually multi-faith, so any religions are welcome. And it is a space that you can pray in as well. We have a disability and dyslexia service, so you can get help with resources and also with testing around those types of disabilities that might affect your time at university. And then you've got the student health service, student money as well. So student health service is obviously anything to do with any medical needs that you might have during your time at university. Student money is all about helping students budget. And then you've got student wellbeing advice. So that's for anyone that might be struggling with settling in, anyone struggling with any mental health issues whilst at university. And then alongside that, you've got You in Mind, mental health, and You Talk counselling. So there's lots of options at university for basically anything that you might need, anything that might cause you stress or kind of put a barrier up to you succeeding. We do everything we can to make sure that those barriers just don't exist or that they're limited, like we limit the effects of them. So yeah, it's a very supportive community here. So what would you say to someone considering studying an English literature or creative writing course? We'll go for Natalia first. Go first.
I think especially for the creative writing bit, it's definitely a case of just making sure that you will be able to do it throughout the 3 years, which sounds a bit strange, but I know there are some people that enjoy it as a hobby, but they don't really feel like they want to continue it as like a 3-year course. Having said that though, there is such a variety of modules that you can do that it's not you're just doing the same thing over and over again. There is variety in it and you can sort of change it up, and I think it's a lot easier to continue with rather than if you're just doing the same thing for 3 years. Also, I think with your course as well, there's so much support there that if you are struggling, I know we more or less, my whole course, we all face sort of similar issues. So even if you talk to each other or your lecturers are also super helpful for you to talk with. So I think it's just sort of once you get to know everyone, it becomes like less of going to a lecture and it becomes more going to like hang out with some cool people and do some writing sort of thing.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that. What about you, Alice?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Yeah, you've got to make sure you can study it for the whole 3 years, because it is it's not an easy course to do. There is a lot of work and a lot of reading, and yeah, it's exactly the same as Talia said. There's a lot of support and everyone's there to help you, but yeah, definitely make sure it's definitely what you want to do before you commit to it.
Yeah, that's a good shout for sure. Right, so I think we're coming to the end of the webinar. So it's our final question. If you could both basically sum up your time so far at university, maybe some of the highlights that you've had. We'll start with Alice.
Yes, so I've loved my time so far at uni. Although there have been some difficult bits, but that is to be expected. There has been so many people to support me, and especially joining a society and having that team of friends, even if it's not a sport that you're interested in, there's so many other societies you can join that just having that extra group of friends that you're not living with, you're not in a lecture with, is really helpful. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, so yeah.
Oh, good. What about you, Natalia?
Yeah, I agree. I think especially it's really rewarding the work that you can produce, especially for creative writing, and you get sort of pushed to do all these new things that you probably would not have done if you hadn't have gone. And again, like Alice said as well, with like meeting new people, there are so many people that I talk to that I would not have spoken to unless we were in the same course together, or we've been like thrown together. Do you know what I mean? And it's just sort of one of those things where we're probably going to talk for like after uni as well. It's not just sort of once uni ends, that's it, you're never going to see anyone again. You can still, these like friends you're going to have like probably the rest of your life. That sounds a bit dramatic, but it is true. So I think it's really important to sort of put yourself out there and just enjoy the people that you're with as well.
Okay, I think those both are amazing answers. To anyone that's got any questions after watching this webinar, maybe for the students involved or us at the recruitment team, please just reach out to outreach@chi.ac.uk or studyhere@chi.ac.uk. Thank you to our student ambassadors. That is the end of the webinar.